Chat episode 52, the 2016 Oscars Special. DiCaprio wins as Spotlight shocks and Mad Max scorches the competition. Everybody, welcome to episode 52 of Real Chat, a podcast that promises week in, week out, the real world as we know it. And welcome also to our second Oscars special, where we attempt a departure from our regular format to discuss this week's 88th Academy Awards, direct from the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood, Los Angeles. And to mark this monumental date on any film buff's annual calendar, we have a new and expanded team here for you today.
We're all fatter.
Yeah, that's right. So much popcorn this year.
My name's Adam Stolfo, and I'm joined here as usual by good friend and co-host Brose Avard. Brose, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's an interesting year for cinema, 2015, and the Oscars kind of brought that to a fore. Some really, really great results, I think, from the Academy Awards, and then some kind of unusual ones as well.
Yeah, I think 2015 struggled a bit, Brose.
And it's weird, given that we had some of the biggest grossing films of all time in 2015.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't say it was a great year for cinema, necessarily.
Both those films that you're talking about, though, Brose, both part of very popular and established franchises.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
Yeah. Also joined here by the returning Stuart Wilson. Stu, how's it going?
It's going very well. I'm excited to be here. I'm a little ashamed to say I didn't watch the Oscars. Part of it's because I'm still waiting for that Real Chat check to come through, so that I can give up my day job, so that I can be at home and watch the Oscars all day.
That fat Real Chat money. Wait till that starts pouring in.
Yeah, any moment, right? I'm sure. I did keep up with it all day, though, so I kept up with the tweets and the news websites. So
I had an enormous amount of hope with Stuart and the Academy Awards this year because I invited just a general small group of people around to watch it. There were three of us in the end, but that was plenty. And
Who
Stuart,
came along, Brose?
Trev was here, who was in the Breakfast Club episode. My younger brother Tony came. And Stuart replied on the Facebook invite and said, "Oh, very tempting." But I think he was being sarcastic. now that I think about it, I think he was being sarcastic.
Did you use a sarcastic emoticon?
Is there a sarcastic emoticon?
There needs to be.
I get confused between the crying one and the laughing so much you're crying, so I wouldn't know.
Joining us for the first time this year as well, Mr. Matthew O'Neill. Matt, welcome back to Real Chat.
Hey everyone. Last time I was here was via text from an airport lounge.
Text awakens.
I was not going to come tonight and just send a Native American in my place. But I thought, I didn't want to miss the Oscars, even though I missed the Oscars. Yeah.
Do you watch it every year, Matt?
No, I don't think I've ever watched it.
Wow.
Although, you got to put into perspective here, Matt is, among other things, a horror movie expert, and the last horror movie to win an Academy Award, Rosemary's Baby?
Oh, I think Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs, yep, that counts.
Yeah.
Yep, one of the top 5 greatest.
Yeah, that's right. They don't get much of a look. And even then, though, I don't think I mean, what was the last film we covered on Real Chat that won an Oscar?
Rosemary's Baby?
It wasn't really, so it's a horror film.
You mean Mad Max Fury Road?
Oh, Mad Max Fury Road?
There you go, boom.
That's one of my favourite things about the Oscars too, is that opening montage they played of all the films of 2015, and they give a lot of time to films that are never going to be in contention for an Academy Award.
Oh, definitely.
And it just highlights the fact, it's just kind of like, come on, guys.
I don't think the Oscars are relevant anymore. About as relevant as Ali G, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's all you have to say. Good to have you with us, Matt.
And that's the only clip I saw as well. So I think I've just about covered anything. I had a joke about Andrew McCaskill not being here, and we can save that for later.
Oh, what a tease. Keep listening to the Oscars special, people. There will be an Andrew McCaskill joke. Andrew's not listening. He just doesn't listen to episodes he doesn't appear on.
And joining us for the first time as well, and returning to Real Chat in 2016, Mr. James Hazelden. James, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Very well, thanks, mate. Very well. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm the same. Didn't watch the Oscars.
Wow.
So
haven't given a shit about the Oscars. I tell you when my heart was broken. I used to when I was a young lad, we used to have Oscars parties. So we loved films, and mates of mine and I, we'd all see the films in contention. We'd all come around, we'd all have drinks, we'd have bets, and we'd scream at the television. It was great fun. And then the year that Forrest Gump beat Pulp Fiction, something inside me died, and I never watched them again.
Wow, there you go.
Wow, there, yeah.
Right. It's mid-90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've heard of the Oscars, and much like Stuart, I was also sort of following along, so I kind of vaguely know the results. But it's one of those things where it's a bit like media in general at the moment, where, like, because of the internet and things are broken open so widely that why do we care what a bunch of 60 to 80-year-old white men think about 5 movies? But
Yeah.
I'm sure we all kept up to date with it at work. Everyone.
yeah.
So, Brose, I think it's just you and me, mate.
They watch the broadcast.
Episode.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the broadcast, everyone's across the awards.
Oh, of course.
I hope.
Yeah, definitely. But what are some of your initial thoughts on the Oscars? And I will start with you.
Have you guys watched clips at all, like bits and pieces? Have you?
Yes.
You've seen one clip from so far?
And the DiCaprio speech.
Yeah, cool. Did anybody see Chris Rock's opening monologue?
Yeah.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. Look, one of the things that I talked about last year with Neil Patrick Harris is the fact that he's not a stand-up comedian, and you don't have to be a good host of the Oscars, but there are certain skills you don't have if you're not a stand-up comedian that Neil Patrick Harris proved that he didn't have. And he's a great song and dance man, he's a very funny guy, and he's a great actor, but there were times where not having those skills let him down, I think, as the host.
Yeah.
Chris Rock, on the other hand, is one of the greatest stand-up, if not the greatest stand-up comedian working right now. Him and probably Louis C.K. are probably the two greatest stand-ups off the top of my head. And that skill set that he has definitely helped him. He had a huge weight on his shoulder with the diversity issue, and I think he completely knocked it out of the park. There are two ways he could have handled it. He could have hidden it and just done one or two weak jokes and just pretended it didn't exist, or he could have just hit it on the head. And there are two things that happened. One, he nailed it. He just knocked it out of the park. He hit every joke that needed to be hit, and he brought it home that there is a diversity issue. And you need to watch the monologue in full to get a full idea of how he did that. The other thing he did, by nailing that issue and by talking about it so eloquently and so well and in such a funny way, it stopped everybody else feeling like they had to come out and say something about it. And I think that's what a good host should do.
Yeah, take the bullet.
Take the bullet. Do the work, and then we can just get on with the show. And he made a few more gags throughout the night, and they were fine. But I think his stuff was incredibly intelligent, really insightful, and I thought he was absolutely hilarious. I think he was brilliant.
I think the white people were definitely more comfortable afterwards.
Yeah.
And that's what a black person's job is. To open something for white people.
Well, that's what he did.
Yeah, Brose, I think he was the best host since maybe Ellen DeGeneres or maybe Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, I think so. You know, although Hugh Jackman at the time got rubbished, and in hindsight is regarded as quite good. He did.
I know he got rubbish, but it just seems bizarre.
And as I said last year on the Oscar special, I watched Hugh's stuff back and on YouTube, and he's good. He's fine. Like he could be brilliant, but he kind of got crapped on at the time. Ellen DeGeneres was brilliant as well. She's a great performer. So yeah, I mean, Chris Rock, I think he hit it out of the park. There were a few stumbles here and there, but he was hilarious. And you got to think about the fact also that material is only a couple of weeks old, and a good stand-up will work on a routine for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And he's, 2 weeks that's been written, or 4 weeks or whatever it's been, a short amount of time, gets up on stage and nails it. So yeah, I think Chris Rock did an exceptional job. Hopefully he gets to come back. That being said, Louis C.K., who was one of the...
who we'll talk about.
We'll talk about later.
Yeah.
He's my pick for next year's Oscars. Louis C.K. hosting the Oscars would be absolutely incredible, because he's an amazing stand-up, but also he's very passionate about film, and he's a filmmaker himself. So,
well, as is Chris Rock, and that also I think lends an authority. I mean, Chris Rock isn't just a very talented stand-up comedian; he's also a writer-director, and actor. So, he comes from a place of authority,
and I think that helps with the audience as well. That idea that he's part of that group, he's not an outsider. When Neil Patrick Harris kind of does feel a bit like an outsider. Yeah.
Hey, he was in A Million Ways to Die in the West.
He was also in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle.
There you go. That's two.
There you go.
They were Academy Award nominated films.
He's an esteemed actor.
Yeah, Starship Troopers, man.
He's brilliant in Starship Troopers as well.
It's Afraid. I love that one.
Now, obviously, Brose, this entire show was all about, the diversity issue. The entire show, and it was the elephant in the room, and they kept on pecking away at it all night, didn't they?
I think so. I think it kind of helped the Oscars to have an issue to talk about all night as well.
They did talk about other issues too, but they did obviously decide to tackle it head on, which they don't do that often.
No,
the Oscars themselves.
Not at all. I mean, it's white guilt. We don't like talking about the obvious things that we do badly.
Did it annoy you at all, Brose?
Didn't bother me at all, because
the entire show.
No, it didn't bother me at all.
Well, I was wondering how you felt, because last year both you and Michael were a bit over whatever particular cause it was, because there were quite a few different ones brought up
Happened
last
again
year
as well, Stu.
There were more this year as well. I know.
Yes.
There weren't as
and
many.
like I said last episode, it's like, what else are they going to do? Thank God and their parents?
Yeah, I don't think there were as many this year as there were last year.
No, probably not.
I think there are like Leo obviously made the climate change.
Yep.
Tying in how he feels about his award and climate change was a very tenuous link, but he did it.
It was better than him talking about how long he'd wanted that award, which just would have felt a bit weird.
Yeah, it's kind of bizarre. And
I think both are connected by that they're both inevitable. That's what you should have said.
Leo's Oscar and climate change.
And by the way, getting back to the racial issue just briefly, I thought it was very fitting for this year's Oscars that Leonardo DiCaprio won Best Actor for starring in a bleak white landscape. And that's my one joke, and I'm out. Bang.
Drop the
James.
mic. So, the diversity issue bothered you throughout the broadcast, or?
Yes. I understood why it had to be tackled. I even appreciated the way they did it, and I really liked the way that Chris Rock approached it too, like you said as well, Brose. But as the night went on and on, I was just like, can't we just get on with what this night is about? And,
see, for me, the moments where Rock wasn't doing diversity material, it was the weaker moments. Like the whole Girl Guide cookie stuff was kind of didn't quite hit, and there wasn't enough as a joke. There wasn't enough of a joke there for that to be funny.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of long-winded and a bit weird.
What I think is that what people and this was sort of said at the time was, people should just be nominated on their merits, and I mean blah blah blah. It shouldn't be about black and white. It should be about this and that. And then you go, yeah, okay, but this year there was actually a reasonable amount of diversity in films that could easily have been nominated, and obviously you think about Creed. The only acting nomination from that was from the one white guy in the film. You think about Straight Outta Compton, which was a better biopic than the biopics that got chosen, and certainly could have been showcased a lot more. And to go one step further, I actually couldn't believe that Sam Jackson didn't get a nod for The Hateful Eight. Now, look, I know the Oscars celebrate success. I know that The Hateful Eight is, in my opinion, unfairly thought to be a Quentin Tarantino failure. But that part is amazing. And I love the film, but Sam Jackson in that film, that's the film you... And by the way, everyone pisses on about this Leonardo DiCaprio guy. Let me tell you about Leonardo DiCaprio. Every film he made when he was a boy, he is amazing in. He's amazing in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. Yeah. He's amazing in The Basketball Diaries. He's great in Romeo and Juliet. Why?
Critters 3.
Critters 3. Fantastic. I bought him. He's great in that Growing Pains show or whatever it was. But he's great because he's a boy. But when he starts playing a man on film, he still looks like a boy. You can put as much beard on him as you want. He always looks like a high school kid who's been put in makeup and pushed out onto a set. And unfortunately, because of Leonardo DiCaprio's star power, he's always surrounded by way better actors. Whether it be Tom Hardy, who outacted him in
Tom
The
Hardy
Revenant.
Was phenomenal in The Revenant.
Could have won it. So, but anyway, everyone cracks on about Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, he should win. He's got to win. Why hasn't he won yet? What about Samuel L. Jackson? One of the mainstays, one of the great actors, one of the great comebacks from a very troubled life. He's worked with some of the greatest directors of all time, Spike Lee, Quentin Tarantino, and the like. And here's a chance. The Hateful Eight is his movie. Yeah. And not even a nod. That to me is the diversity there. Is it wasn't like the Academy was struggling to find.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen Creed, but I've heard that it's quite good. That's fine. Yeah. I've seen Straight Outta Compton twice because I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I can't single out a performance for Best Actor in that film.
Did it get nominated for Best Writing?
It got Best Writing, which was written by two white guys. Okay. So that doesn't help.
The whole thing is, it's a symptom rather than a cause, of course. I mean, there's fewer opportunities for
exactly
minorities,
right.
Obviously.
Yep.
But I think the idea that the Oscars are trying to lead by example, if they actually follow through on what they've said, is a good thing. Obviously, change has got to come from the top, so the fact that they're suggesting they'll make the actual Oscars voters a bit more diverse, because they're all old white guys who might not have directed a film in the past 35 years. That's another thing that's a problem with it. I think it's a good point, really.
I think it comes back to the fact that there's no diversity in the awards because there's no diversity in the casting. And one of the things that Aziz Ansari has talked about at length is that idea that being an Indian American, he often get cast as they want him as an IT guy or a call center operator or the typical taxi driver or a 7-Eleven employee, and he refuses to do those roles because he's an actor. He's not an Indian American actor. He's just an actor, and he talks about getting the opportunities when he's being cast in roles that are traditionally, well, not even traditionally, getting cast in roles that are written for white people. And they cast him. It's that idea in the first place that you can cast anyone of any nationality in any role in most films, and if they're a great actor, it's still going to be a great part.
Indeed, if you look at casting notes, if it doesn't specify a race, it's assumed that they're white.
Exactly.
And there's a Chris Rock story, in fact, about that, where he went and auditioned for Starsky and Hutch. He walked in, and they said, "Oh, this is going to be great. You'd be a great Huggy Bear." He said, "I'm not here to audition for Huggy Bear. I want to be Starsky or I want to be Hutch." And they said, "Oh, but you're black." And he said, "When we were growing up, we were all black, and we couldn't all play Huggy Bear. Some of us were Starsky, and some of us were Hutch. Why does it matter? I'm a leading man. Make me a leading man. Why does it have to matter?" And that's the thing, is that if you're of a certain kind of descent, then that is your character.
Yeah.
But if you're not of any kind of descent, you're the lead.
How many years has it been since we've had the all white Oscars?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Why is it an issue this year? Has it been? How many years has it been? 20 years?
I don't know how long it's been.
Is it 20 or 30 years or something?
No,
or is it?
no, it happened in the 90s. It happened 95, 96 or something.
Well, that's 20 years.
It didn't happen, and then all of a sudden Halle Berry got her Oscar the year after, and it seemed to be kind of almost forced that they just...
There was some talk about that, I remember.
The thing you got to remember also is that, I don't know the exact stats, but about 75% of Hollywood's box office now comes from places other than America. So it makes sense that they should be diversifying more. And I've seen some silly arguments about the actual denominations of ethnic backgrounds in the US, but that's not really got anything to do with it in this day and age. I mean, they're selling tickets all around the world, so...
Yeah. I mean, this year's Oscars, except for the African-American issue, was one of the most diverse group of winners ever. So. Obviously, when you factor in Australians for Mad Max, but also, there are a whole bunch of other nationalities that won this year. I read it earlier in the week. Of the... say 50 awards, 25 or 30 of them were non-Americans that won it. Obviously, plenty of white non-Americans winning, but still quite a diverse pool, which is interesting. Idris Elba is the other one that was robbed this year as well for Beasts of No Nation. Which
I haven't seen it.
And I mean, Idris Elba.
You could pretty much give him an Oscar for any film he's in.
Oh, he's incredible.
Brose, let's start looking at the awards then, and giving your opinions, and particularly with the films that you guys have seen from the lists here. They changed the order this year. I mean, they change it every year, but the order was interesting in that they tried to follow the creative process,
which they didn't. They didn't do it at all.
Well, they started with it.
They came out and said, "What did they open with?" They opened with
screenplay.
A screenplay. It was like, we're starting with screenplay because a film starts with a screenplay, and then it goes, and all the awards are going to be in the... And then what? Best Supporting Actor was like the fourth award. So
but it always is. They always put an actor one early.
Yeah, it's like screenplay isn't casting pretty quick after that.
You get a lot of the technical awards right at the end when everyone's a bit tired.
Visual effects happens after the best film and best actor.
Yeah. But it started off... I mean, the screenplay is obviously the place to start if you're going to follow the creative process. The nominations were Inside Out, Ex Machina, Bridge of Spies, Straight Outta Compton, and the winner was Spotlight. Tom McCarthy and Josh Singer.
So was this best adapted screen?
No, the original screenplay.
Best original
screenplay, my apologies.
Which is interesting because I didn't think... I would assume that Spotlight is adapted from...
Yeah, from newspaper articles or something.
Yeah.
Well, not if it's not based on a specific newspaper that they bought the rights to, then no, it's based on real events.
It's based on real events.
It's like saying, someone wrote a book about Abraham Lincoln, but we don't have to base it on a book if we want to make an Abraham Lincoln
That's
movie.
fair enough.
Thoughts on this one? Best original screenplay?
I'm not quite sure why Inside Out was there. It was one of the better Pixar films, and definitely the best we've had in ages, but I'm not quite sure why that would bump it into best screenplay.
I thought it was a very original screenplay. Like, I liked I thought it was a very ballsy theme for a kids' movie to be about.
Wasn't that original if
sadness is important? I actually thought that was interesting.
Wasn't that original if you watched Herman's Head in the 90s, though, was it?
I watched Herman's Head in the 90s.
I mean, for me, Ex Machina is one of the most original screenplays of the last however many years, and I was surprised that
Me too.
Didn't get the
not
the
if
award.
you watched Herman's Head.
That's true.
I'd say it was a fantastic screenplay. I'm not sure I'd say it was that original.
No, it's very Asimov in it.
I know, but you're looking at Bridge of Spies, which is as derivative as A Penny Dreadful.
Yeah.
You're looking at Inside Out, which is, that's okay. Spotlight I enjoyed the film, but it's not a great screenplay. And Straight Outta Compton, incredible writing, I think, to get all of those actors, or all those characters, to work, and the narrative to work. So Straight Outta Compton or Ex Machina for me are probably the strongest screenplays in that list.
I think what I liked about Spotlight's screenplay was it was dealing with a very emotional subject, obviously a very tough subject to deal with, and I thought that its approach was suitably respectful and suitably cold. I thought there were some beautiful performances in the film in smaller roles, but I felt like the screenplay really let the facts speak for themselves in the story, and I actually thought that was a very reserved approach, which doesn't make it the best film of the year, but I thought it was quite an intelligently written screenplay.
I think to the detriment of the film, those reasons that you're talking about, personally.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah,
You wanted people to be more upset?
Yeah.
I found Spotlight to be incredibly realistic and too realistic for my liking.
Do you mean like the...
So too dark, or...
Yeah, didn't entertain me. I nearly fell asleep a couple of times during this film.
Oh, well, that's being bored is different to it being too traumatic.
You were lucky you weren't watching it with a priest. Yeah,
What do you think?
I think that was the movie's tagline, wasn't it? Watch it with a priest.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I think I've had a discussion with Stuart about this as well. I just felt it needed to be a bit tougher, a bit harder.
It was too realistic. It needed to be edgier.
Just because, especially because it has that audience. Especially, I mean, I guess it's great that in a way this topic's will be brought up a bit more because it's won an Oscar and a few Oscars, but I just felt like the actual film needed a few more shocking moments in it just to drum it home.
Too.
I think it felt like a TV movie. In fact,
it did.
I felt like I could watch it with the kids while they were playing Lego or something in the front room and have it on in the background.
See, I think the opposite. I think if there was too much melodrama in it, then it would have felt like a TV movie. I think by having a distance and a coldness about it, one of the greatest things about that film for me was that there was information and there were facts in that film that aren't common knowledge that should be common knowledge. It wasn't just a dramatic portrayal of a horrific event. They were trying to inform us as well, and it's different. In Australia right now, we're going through the investigation into institutionalised sexual harassment on minors. It's in the news for us right now, it's very current for us, and it's very pertinent. Whereas in America, the religious section of that country is massive, and to break through that mentality and give them some information as opposed to just a dramatic retelling. And I think that it's intentional to do it that way so that it doesn't just look like they're trying to make drama out of a non-issue, which is how Catholics would argue, that they've just blown it out of proportion and made it into a big dramatic kind of melodrama. Whereas there's so much amazing information that I took out of this film, and this is the kind of thing I've been following for a long time. I was raised Catholic. I defend the Catholic Church quite a lot on a daily basis at the moment because this is what people think the whole Catholic Church is about, and it's not. But to bring you information and to actually have an intellectual look at it is quite good. I'm not saying it deserved to be Best Picture of 2015. I'm just saying the subject matter that it deals with and the information that it contains, this is an absolutely brilliant way to approach this topic.
I get it, Brose. I know why these films win Oscars. Yeah,
but I'm someone who, as a movie watcher, I don't like to be told how to feel about something, and I think that lack of emotion or the kind of the placement of emotion in that movie meant that they could literally tell the story, and then I could feel how I wanted to feel about it, and that would be okay.
Best Adapted Screenplay, so nominated Carol, Brooklyn, Room, and The Martian. And The Big Short was the winner, Adam McKay and Charles Randolph, from the book written by Michael Lewis, The Big Short.
Yeah,
so,
who saw The Big Short?
I didn't.
I can tell you that besides Mad Max Fury Road, The Big Short was my absolute favourite of the Oscar films this year. A fantastic movie. Did something almost the opposite of what Spotlight did, was it took... rather than Spotlight is an emotional subject told in a dry way, this is a very dry subject. It's all about the American economic disaster of 2008, the collapse of the banks, and the fraud that was behind all of it, and then obviously the government bailouts. And it does it as a comedy. Adam McKay, who works on Funny or Die, renowned director of Anchorman and less renowned director of Anchorman 2, takes on an amazingly dry subject, and it's a really funny screenplay. Like, it's really funny.
Yeah.
And it's clever. The performances are really, really good. And it's one of those things where you sit down and you go, oh my God, I'm learning about American economics, and I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm nervous because our whole society is built on sand.
And what about the screenplay, James?
It's smart. Well, because what it does is it literally gets out there and tells, and it's making the subject matter entertaining, which is amazing. Like because it's all about numbers, it's all about concepts, it's all about economics, and it doesn't shy away from that. It breaks a lot of rules of film. It breaks the fourth wall. It fucks with narrative. It does things for dramatic effect, and then at one stage Ryan Gosling turns to the audience and says, "This is not how this really happened. We've just done this for dramatic effect." So it really is out of its own head. It's very meta and very entertaining. I just thought it was a really engaging.
I didn't love it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't love it. And it's one of those films that I need to watch again.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. It's quite a dense film. I don't know if the characterizations were nailed. I don't know if I was engaged enough with those people. I still felt... I mean, the whole time it felt like a bad version of Wolf of Wall Street.
I would argue Wolf of Wall Street is a bad version of this film.
Yeah, but that's a really fun film, Wolf of Wall Street. This film's really tough work, and I liked it, and I need to watch it again. I need to give it a second chance. It's just won the Best Adapted Screenplay.
A panel member, Andrew McCaskill, didn't like it at all. He got bored and he nearly fell asleep a couple of times.
Is that why he didn't come to the podcast?
He didn't like it.
Because it's Big Short.
Now, that being said, Brooklyn's not the most adventurous screenplay in the world. Carol, I didn't see. The Martian is fine.
The Martian, the only thing is I'm one of those annoying people that says the book was better than the movie, but I really like the film anyway.
See, I loved Matt Damon in it. I think he's as charismatic as all hell, and that's enough for me to enjoy the film. And then Room, I thought was a great film, but I think that's more performances and direction than
I think so
screenplay.
Too. Yeah.
Well, that was
still a great screenplay. But
Best Supporting Actress, there was The Favourite, Kate Winslet for Steve Jobs. There was Rooney Mara for Carol.
Kate Winslet played Steve Jobs.
That's right.
She's got amazing range.
Rachel McAdams for Spotlight, Jennifer Jason Leigh for The Hateful Eight, and Alicia Vikander won for The Danish Girl. Now, I haven't seen The Danish Girl, so I can't really comment much on this.
I get the feeling Alicia Vikander won for Ex Machina.
I think Alicia Vikander won for 2015. Did you say how many movies
she did a lot of
in?
films, and she was good in a lot of them as well.
Enormous amount of range too. It was incredible.
What was she in besides Machina and?
She was in The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, I liked that.
Yeah,
I was the one guy in Australia who liked that movie.
Yeah.
So, do you think this was the worthy winner, Brose?
I haven't seen Hateful Eight, so Jennifer Jason Leigh.
She's amazing in that movie, and I can understand why perhaps she was beaten, but I thought that Jennifer Jason Leigh was just fantastic in that movie. But I thought
Rachel McAdams in Spotlight is good, but it's not.
Nothing special.
It's not a best supporting.
No, I think she's a very talented actor, and I think she'll win an Oscar, but not for this.
Yeah, and I think she's underappreciated. I think she's quite good. And the problem that both Fassbender and Winslet had is that Steve Jobs is not a great film. Their performances are incredible. They are both really charismatic and very strong. They're insane performances.
I thought Fassbender would beat DiCaprio.
I thought, Fassbender's performance is better than DiCaprio's, but Steve Jobs is not a great film, and that's really let both of them down. But Fassbender in that film blew my mind. Like, he's just so good in that film.
I really liked the screenplay of that film because I liked the way that it steered away from the traditional Oscar biopic film that we often snore through.
It showed the 3 moments of his life.
3 moments of his life, and then you extrapolate outwards. I love the fact, and this goes to Fassbender's performance as well.
I quite like the screenplay too.
But the screenplay says, look, hey, this guy's mainly a bastard for most of the movie, and yet there are moments where you're barracking for him. That's a great performance. That's a great
Absolutely.
screenplay.
I mean,
and you see a character's journey, and it never feels forced.
Yeah, I loved Kate Winslet. Although in the first 20 minutes she doesn't have an accent, and then later on she has a Russian accent for some reason. At least that was, yeah.
Well, because in the first scene, Brose, she's not in a hurry, but later on she's Russian.
But yeah, Vikander got it, but I think because she's had a great year as well.
Yes. Strap yourselves in, because it's about to begin. Best costume design.
Mad Max.
That's it, but nominated Carol, Cinderella, Danish Girl, and The Revenant. But yeah, Mad Max is about to take over the Oscars temporarily from this point. So yeah, best costume design. Jenny Bevan won for that.
Yes, the bag lady from the BAFTAs.
How was Mad Max not going to win this award, Bruce? That's the question.
It was either not going to win any, or it was going to win all of these awards. I mean, isn't that how it goes, isn't it? Like either the voters are going to backlash and go, it's an action adventure, big blockbuster, we're not going to vote for it,
or it's going to win the technical awards
and nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, the costume design for this is extraordinary.
Yeah, it had to win this.
Going back to, I think it was Stuart's observation about the women in this that are escaping. All of them have their own kind of wardrobe. They have their own personalities, and that's seen through what they wear. Even though they're quite similar in what they're wearing, there's a lot of personality and character, and that comes down to the costume design as well as the performances and the way it was written. So
yeah, worthy winner.
Yeah, absolutely.
No Force Awakens. We wouldn't put there
in costume design. No,
not impressive.
No.
They give C-3PO a red arm. That's not enough to get you a best costume.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I don't even think you understand. They make a man look a bit like a woman in one of those films.
I should. You're right. Well, so I've just come off of watching Transparent for the last 2 weeks, so I'm all about that at the moment.
Best production design, also to Mad Max Fury Road.
Not going to argue with that.
No one's going to argue with that.
Not Force Awakens. No, sorry.
It was nominated, though, wasn't it? Production design, Force Awakens?
No, it wasn't. No, Bridge of Spies, The Danish Girl, The Martian and The Revenant. A lot of the films that pop up a lot.
Bridge of Spies is interesting that it missed out. I mean, Mad Max was such a force that it makes sense that it won, but Bridge of Spies, the production design was exceptional.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
I think Mad Max, it comes back, all of the Mad Max films, this is what's amazing about them. It's probably the best series of films in the history of films. Like, can you think of anything where the films are so strong apart from number 3? All the way up to number 4.
Let's talk Godfather. Beyond good up till number 3.
Exactly, yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like,
Beyond Thunderdome was the weak one.
And it's just, it always comes back to that. All the crazy cars that's driving across the. I don't think there's been a better use of like countryside or just your natural terrain. Habitat terrain since probably Kubrick did the moon landing. I
love the way that they wanted.
I think it's really
impressive. Best makeup and hairstyling, also to Mad Max Fury Road.
Absolutely.
That was a shoe-in. What was it up against?
The 100-year-old man who climbed out a window and disappeared.
Yeah, well.
Has anybody seen that? I don't think.
If you'd have made that
anybody saw that
right then, I would have assumed that.
And the Revenant slipped in there again, but
there was some nice makeup effects in the Revenant. But,
yeah, of course.
Mad Max's. Oh, this wasn't makeup though, is it? Is this hairstyle and makeup?
Actually, the hairstyling's just been added to the makeup section.
Right.
It didn't used to, get.
The bear looked very bouffanted.
Charlize Theron's hairstyle was extraordinary.
That's true. It's exceptional.
So Mad Max was broken up temporarily by the obvious winner for this one, Brose.
Is this best cinematography?
Best cinematography. So nominated Carol, The Hateful Eight, Mad Max Fury Road, and Sicario. But The Revenant, I have to say, is one of the greatest looking films I've seen in years. Every single shot in that film was like you're walking through like a gallery, and it was like perfect. Have you seen it, Stu?
No, I haven't.
Okay. This was an absolute shoe-in, and I think I would have turned the Oscars off if it didn't win this, bro.
I think the vistas and the panoramic shots and it is an extraordinary landscape that they're using, and he shoots it perfectly. And you're looking at a white, bleak kind of landscape, but he gives it so much texture, and there's a lot going on. I think production design for this film was quite good as well, but missed out obviously to Mad Max. But who did the cinematography?
Emmanuel Lubezki, I think is his name. But this guy, you look at his credits as well, he's phenomenal. I was blown away by the look of The Revenant.
Yeah, no, he definitely did an amazing job. It's a cinematographer's dream, wet dream, white dream.
It certainly shows up The Hateful Eight, which was annoying because 70 mil.
And it was all inside.
It was all inside one set. And I'm like, it's great. I can see the hairs on everyone's head, But
during the Oscars for the broadcast, they showed a clip of Hateful Eight to go with the award, and it was that opening shot of the beautiful vista with the cabin in the middle.
Yep.
And it's like, God, this film looks beautiful. And then I remembered it all pretty much happens inside.
Yeah, there's 12 outdoor shots.
Like, DiCaprio, all this stuff happens to him, and he's in water and he's out of water, and he doesn't seem too cold, and falls down a mountain. That seems okay. And it just, it's beautiful, but it's never threatening. It never
It does have a slight Chuck Jones feel about it at times, like Wile E. Coyote popping up again after being hit by a boulder and getting eaten by a bear and then being crapped out and walking away.
Not since John McClane in Die Hard 4 has a character survived so much stuff.
Yeah. I put my own subtitles of The Revenant, The Man Who Wouldn't Die. But,
he refused.
Best editing, Mad Max Returns here. Fury Road.
Yeah.
I always find editing a hard one to predict. Can you guys watch a film and go, do you guys come away from a film and go, wow, that film was wonderfully edited?
A lot
Probably
of people
Tarantino.
Well, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
well, Tarantino...
Not this time. I mean, in the past. Like,
No.
you'd
Before
watch
he's
Pulp Fiction
edited.
and go, "Oh wow, that actually makes you take notice about
Yeah,
it."
before his editor died.
Yeah.
Also nominated The Big Short, The Revenant, Spotlight, and Matt, Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
See, I thought The Big Short was really well edited. I think the pacing and I think the mood created and I thought The Big Short, even though I didn't love the film, I thought it was really well edited.
But, yeah, you can't go past Fury Road, though, can you?
To take up your point, though, lots of people did comment on Fury Road's editing.
Yeah.
Their main argument being it's a non-stop action fest and you never get lost as to what's going on.
Yeah.
And there are articles written about always keeping the action in the centre of the frame, which, cinematographically speaking, doesn't sound as exciting, but you just need that because there's so much happening.
The Mad Max whitewash continues with Best Sound Editing.
Whitewash is an unfortunate choice of words, Adam.
Awkward there.
Mark A. Mangini and David White nominated also The Martian, The Revenant, Sicario, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
So the interesting thing here, we discussed last year the difference between sound mixing and sound editing. They're the two categories, aren't they?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, during the awards, they showed... So one of the things they tried this year, which worked sometimes and didn't work other times, is when they showed the clips for each film, they tried to highlight what that particular thing was. So for the best screenplay, they played bits of the screenplay with that scene.
Yeah,
So you got an
and
idea.
put the graphics up.
And they put all the actions and stuff that were written, in italics. That had all come up on screen. So it gave you an idea of what the screenwriter had done, and then what the director had made from that.
That's cool.
And with sound, they isolated some sound effects tracks.
Yeah, so for sound editing, they just did a whole bunch of clips from the film highlighting the sound effects. For sound mixing, it made it a little bit more clear, basically the idea that you're mixing the sound effects and the dialogue and the music and the score or whatever it is all into one sequence. So I guess it did explain it a little bit better. The sound editing is the more like the Foley and the individual sounds, and then sound mixing is bringing all those sounds together to create a sequence. So
I thought they did it great with the sound here.
Yeah.
I loved seeing some of those scenes, like
and I don't know if
Star Wars: The Force Awakens, where you just got the isolated sound effects track. That was pretty cool.
That was nice.
Is anyone surprised that they do still have those two separate awards, though, considering that the average cinema goer wouldn't quite understand the difference when you consider that, for instance, we don't have visual effects and special effects separated anymore, even though they are quite distinct.
This is probably a guild thing, though, isn't it? Or it's a...
Yeah, probably.
I suspect that there are two completely different teams behind them.
Yeah.
I don't
would be.
doubt that.
But
I mean, from an audience perspective.
Yeah.
And at the same time, if it's a sound award, then the mixers and the editors could share the same award.
Yeah, absolutely.
Arguably.
Mad Max Fury Road also won their Best Sound Mixing.
Ben Burt nominated for Star Wars, so...
Yeah, also nominated Bridge of Spies, The Martian, The Revenant, and Star Wars: The Force Awakens. So pretty much the same films.
I think big action films really do showcase
sound
design and sound mixing and sound editing, because of course you are playing with an enormous palette when you're making those kind of movies. And as Stuart said, really about editing, it's the same with sound. It's got to make sense on the film. You've got to know where everything is coming from.
Best visual effects. Now, this was my highlight of the Oscars.
Ooh, yeah.
Because this is the only Oscar for this film. This is the only Oscar that this film got. And,
Be the Big Short, be the Big Short, be the Big Short.
Best visual effects went to Ex Machina. Mark Williams, Ardington, Sarah Bennett, Paul Norris, and Andrew Whitehurst. Now, I thought the visual effects in Ex Machina were incredible.
Yeah, I thought they were brilliant. That was
sensational.
So well done. It was just that perfect balance of obviously a science fiction effect going on constantly, but also giving it that... It was earthed in so much realism. It just had that solid grounding that the whole time you just went with it. You just believed it. No matter how far they went with the idea, the whole time peeling back a bit of skin and seeing robot or, Vikander walking around half robot, half human, and not knowing where the effect started and where the person ended and so on and so forth. Just blew my mind.
And that to me is always the sign of good special effects, is that it locks into the story and it doesn't take you out of the movie.
Yeah.
And the other 4 nominations are unsurprising because they all had great
Force Awakens?
Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Mad Max Fury Road, The Martian, and The Revenant.
Yeah.
So,
you see, it's interesting. I think the only 2 contenders really were Mad Max and Ex Machina. And like Star Wars ran the whole gamut. There were some amazing visual effects and there were some crappy ones. As with most big budget movies, there are very few big budget movies where you watch the whole thing and
it's consistent.
There's no because I mean everything's done by so many different visual effects houses and there's last minute changes. So I knew it was down to Mad Max or Ex Machina. If Star Wars had won, it would have been quite silly. But the difference, I suppose, is Ex Machina was possibly technically looked better, but it was in an environment in a studio where they had
complete control,
perfect conditions.
Oh yeah,
so everything was perfect. Whereas Mad Max ran the whole gamut. It was sometimes in a studio in front of a green screen, sometimes out in location, and they had every kind of effect possible. So it's interesting. Do you give the award to the best looking visual effects, or something that would have been more difficult to pull off?
Yeah.
I find that interesting.
The
that
degree of
distinction.
difficulty, if it's factored in or not.
Yeah.
Best animated film. Was there any competition for this movie? That's the big question.
No Peanuts movie in the nominations.
No.
Inside Out.
Outrage.
Inside Out. Pete Docter and Jonas Rivera.
I think Anomalisa could have been a chance. It's stop motion, and it's beautifully directed.
This is the problem I always have. Is it a best film that isn't animation, or is it best animation in a film?
Yeah, you said this last year.
I know.
Yeah.
Have we worked it out yet?
No. I don't think they have.
So Anomalisa, the animation was extraordinary. It was stop motion, but really good stop motion, and didn't manage to be creepy like a lot of stop motion stuff ends up being with that Uncanny Valley stuff. And the other ones included...
Boy in the World,
yeah.
Shaun the Sheep movie, and When Marnie Was There.
You see, everyone laughs at Shaun the Sheep, but that was great.
Well,
Yeah,
Aardman's stuff is amazing.
It's amazing, but because it's a kids show normally, like as in ABC for kids. I took my kids along to see it, and it was fantastic. I mean, it's basically a silent movie, and it's really clever. And you show a kid a silent movie these days, and most of them won't really pay attention to it. But it was like an hour and a half, I think, and it was fantastic, really clever, and I highly recommend it. And actually, I thought it was better than Inside Out.
Okay.
And I enjoyed Inside Out as well. I thought Inside Out was brilliant, quite touching. But yeah, Shaun the Sheep I thought was just a better achievement.
When Marnie Was There, it was in my top 10 of last year as well.
Okay.
So that is really good. But right. I probably wouldn't have given it the Oscar, but yeah.
Yeah, I just knew that, with all the talk about Inside Out being Pixar's return to form, I kind of knew, I think, and also when they had Buzz and Woody come out,
for the 20th anniversary.
Pixar for the 20th anniversary of Toy Story, I said I'm pretty sure that we're going to be seeing Inside Out.
The Oscars do like Aardman though as well, don't they?
They do, they've been nominated.
Funny thing is, if we were giving it to the technical side of the animation, The Good Dinosaur could have been in there, because if you saw The Good Dinosaur, the visuals of the landscape took photoreal to a whole new level. Seriously, the opening shot happened, it was like a bubbling brook in front of swaying grass, and I was like, wait, I'm watching a video, right? This isn't CGI, this is incredible. So it wasn't a very good film, but definitely had an incredible animation, and probably serves the same purpose as A Bug's Life. When we talk about the technology they created for The Good Dinosaur, will be important for Pixar films in the future.
Down the track,
Did we notice that for those that saw the Woody and Buzz interaction, the animated interaction, to give the award out, they stole a whole bunch of animation from the original Toy Story as well. So exact movements and reactions, and Buzz turns to Woody. Recycled animation. At one point, Buzz turns to Woody and says, "You're mocking me, aren't you?" Exactly out of the movie.
Well, maybe they only had like a week and a half.
They might have had a short amount of time to put it together. But I still kind of liked all the exact same movements when Woody's leaning against Buzz and laughing and throwing his head back, and all out of the film.
It's like when Disney were being really, really cheap asses. Like around the time of Robin Hood, and they were recycling animation from previous films.
Yeah. I think they asked Aardman to do it, but I think they're still working on it now. Hopefully in about 10 years they'll have it ready.
But it'll be fantastic.
It'll be amazing.
It'll blow your mind.
Best Supporting Actor, nominated firstly, Christian Bale for The Big Short, Tom Hardy for The Revenant, Mark Ruffalo for Spotlight, Sylvester Stallone for Creed, and the winner, Mark Rylance for Bridge of Spies. Now, I think, because, Tom Hardy was fantastic in The Revenant. I haven't seen Christian Bale in The Big Short. Mark Ruffalo, Spotlight.
So Mark Ruffalo in Spotlight, just quickly, he's good, but he's just Mark Ruffalo. He's very charismatic. It's a very high-paced kind of character. He does a great service to the character, but I don't think he's doing anything exciting.
I don't think any of them in that film need to be up for Oscars.
No, they all do a serviceable job, but the nature of the script that we talked about, I think none of the actors there are doing anything over the top.
But how good was Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies?
Without Mark Rylance in Bridge of Spies, there is no Bridge of Spies.
Exactly.
Like, without his performance.
He was the bridge, is that what you said?
That's right. Yeah. All the spies would have fallen into the water.
He was a part of the bridge because there were spies.
He was
plural.
Well, he's a supporting actor, so he'd be one of the struts.
He's one of the struts
of the bridge.
He's the keystone.
Yeah.
His performance is extraordinary. Who's seen Bridge of Spies?
Yes.
I have.
Just the three of us here.
Yeah.
I mean, that film is... It's okay. It's something you would have watched in 1985 just as easily. Like, it's a Cold War film. It's not doing anything new or original.
Yeah.
But his performance
he
is
was
just
awesome.
brilliant. And his acceptance speech was beautiful. Like, he's just such a humble man. And
this is
he was really good.
And I know that there was a lot of talk about how good Hardy was in The Revenant, and
a lot of people said that it was Hardy that was pushing Leo to be so good in The Revenant. Did you think?
Well, Leo said that, I think.
Yeah?
He said working with Tom just pushed me that little bit more.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy is brilliant in The Revenant. He is so much more interesting and such a better characterization than whatever Leo's trying to do.
Hardy's like that in everything he's in at the
Well,
moment, though.
Well, I was going to say,
Brings
actually,
me to my
Mad
next
Max.
point. Tom Hardy was in Mad Max, The Revenant, and Legend last year, and he was great in all of
I
them.
really want to see Legend. That still looks like an absolutely compelling performance.
he'll have-
Authentic
I actually thought he might be up for that one, but the film
Tom
wasn't
Hardy
that.
will have his time.
Successful.
He will. Tom Hardy will have
DiCaprio
his
style.
Yeah, no, better because
Sooner.
he's better than DiCaprio.
Hardy will get one for sure soon.
Tom Hardy's also in Peaky Blinders. Do you watch? And how good is he in that?
And he's brilliant in it. And
He is
actually,
so good in that.
To be fair, everyone's good in that. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy
and,
blows my mind in that film.
Who's the Australian guy? Sorry. I'm terrible with names at the best of times.
Who is the Australian guy? Which character?
Luckily, I just call my wife. Yeah,
She's in Peaky Blinders.
He was in season 2. Noah Taylor.
Yeah, Noah Taylor.
Noah
yeah,
Taylor.
yeah.
He's amazing. Has everyone seen Peaky Blinders?
And Sam Neill.
No, I'm talking to the listeners.
Sam Neill.
Has everyone seen Peaky
Sam,
Blinders?
Sam Neill's great in that.
Sam Neill's amazing.
Yeah, he just blows your mind.
Now, this was the part of the Oscars, Brose, where we, had the foreign film and the documentary and the short film and everything like that.
Yeah,
But
So,
cares?
an extended toilet
Probably
break.
had black people in them. Let's move on.
But Brose, you mentioned him before, Louis C.K.
Yeah.
He made one of my favourite presentations, best I've seen in years.
He introduced the best documentary short.
Best documentary short, but what he had to say was not only funny, but it was it was so true. Why don't we just play a little bit of it now?
Let's have a listen.
Thank you. I'm here to present the award for Best Documentary Short Film, which is my favorite award. This is easily my favorite subject. It really is, because this is the one Academy Award that has an opportunity to change a life. Because, I'm happy for all of you, but you came here winners and you're leaving millionaires. It's not going to make that big a difference. The rest of the Oscars are going to mansions and the homes of people with good unions and who will always work. These people, this is documentary short film. You cannot... It's not even documentary feature, Al Gore got one of those and Michael Moore got... you cannot make a dime on this. These people will never be rich as long as they live. So this Oscar means something, because all they do is tell stories that are important. Now, you all do, but you also get rich. But these people, all they got is this Oscar is going home in a Honda Civic. The person who owns this Oscar is going to be the nicest thing they ever own in their life. It's going to give them anxiety to keep it in their crappy apartment. Here are the nominees for Best Documentary Short Subject.
But yeah, what did you think, bro?
Blew your mind, didn't it?
Wow, that was
Stuart?
amazing.
This is one of those, he introduced obviously he just introduced the Best Documentary Short nominations, but it's one of those introductions that you're not sure if the nominees are going to be offended or not.
Yeah.
Like Mike Myers, I don't know if people remember a few years ago, he came out and did Best Sound, and he did the broken talk thing, like there's a dodgy speaker, like at a drive-thru or something, and the sound community were outraged that he mocked sound editing or sound mixing in such an oblique way.
He was just referencing Wayne's World, though.
Exactly, just doing old material, right? But yeah, Louis C.K. He was treading that line, and that's what Louis does in his stand-up. When he's good stand-up, he treads the line.
I think
and he was perfect.
That's what part of what made it so great.
Yeah, and I think he'd be amazing next year as host if they go in that direction. I think Louis C.K. would be brilliant.
James, best original score. Now, wasn't it great that this man finally got one?
Oh, yeah, Hateful Eight, Ennio Morricone. Look, it was always going to win. It's such a beautiful score, but, too, as well, it really gives... Quentin Tarantino puts that score front and center to the point where the roadshow cut of the film, which was touring, on certain screens, it's 20 minutes longer. Actually, Kubrick style has an overture and an overture card, and has an interval and an interval card, and then a sort of a start Act 2 card. So even before the film starts, that score is right there, it plays, and it's a sweeping... It's everything that Ennio Morricone is known for. It's sweeping, but it's also strange. That's what Ennio Morricone does. He's at once recognisable and puts you on edge.
I think it's one of his weaker ones, though. I think it's more.
That's undoubted.
I think it's more a nod to his work in the past. I mean, he's probably for me he's the best.
He won the Lifetime Achievement Award like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Is he your favourite composer?
Oh yeah, I reckon. I mean, good to bad. I mean, what you're talking about with Kubrick is what Sergio Leone was doing, which is probably what Tarantino's channeling more so than anyone else. But
wasn't it great that he finally got one?
I was competitive.
He was doing a standing ovation,
I
didn't he?
I think it's more sad that he hasn't got one before. Like, it still annoys me.
It is.
It pisses me off that, like, you know, what do you call it? Once Upon a Time in America is one of the most amazing soundtracks
ever. And a great
incredible
film.
The Mission. I mean, especially with the backing that film had at the time as well. I'm surprised he didn't win. In fact, I was shocked that he hadn't won one when they announced it. Like, it was kind of like, Jesus.
You didn't know that he hadn't won one?
No.
Yeah, no, it's the biggest
one of those things where you just
the biggest snubs in the history of the Oscars is that he hadn't won one earlier.
I think, though, I actually think the score is quite strong, but what I think is that the 70 scores that he did for Sergio Leone are better served by the way they were recorded. So I think there's an immediacy to those scores, like they're really upfront, they're much more analog, and they're just immediate and rough, and you can hear tape hiss on them. Whereas I think, just because of the methods of recording music now, I think that the recording method of this score muted it a little bit, and I think that's what perhaps lost some of that sharpness that Ennio Morricone always does have in his scores.
Yeah,
but I like the themes. I thought the themes were actually quite lovely and engaging.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I just don't think it's like, I think he should have been recognised for something.
I've no argument here.
So this was also John Williams' 50th nomination.
Incredible.
In his career.
The Star Wars, The Force Awakens.
Most of them were for Star Wars films.
Yeah.
Or
The
Lucas
same
Spielberg films.
Jaws.
Well, they did, during the broadcast, the orchestra played 3 John Williams, at least 3 that I could identify, 3 John Williams scores. First of all, they played Superman. Then they played Indiana Jones. And then when J.J. Abrams came out to present, they played Star Wars. But when they started playing Indiana Jones, like, they've already played Superman. Why? Oh, right. Okay, Indiana Jones. Okay, cool. But it was really nice to hear those.
Also nominated, Thomas Newman had a really good score for Bridge of Spies.
I was surprised. Yeah, I mean, obviously Ennio Morricone is the sentimental choice, as well as, whether he's the correct choice or not is here or there. His score for Bridge of Spies was great as well. I thought it was really well done.
And also Carter Burwell for Carol and Johan Johannesson for Sicario.
He's on the way up. That guy, he's doing.
It's definitely a name
stuff.
I'm familiar with. So, yeah.
I'm surprised that Howard Shore's score to Spotlight didn't get nominated, because that was actually one of my favourite things about the film. It really was.
His score was great, and Howard Shore's an amazing composer. So.
Honestly, I saw the film, but the score didn't stay with me particularly. Which might mean it's great.
That's all right. Adam hated that film so much he was just trying to find something to hold on to.
I really was. Best original song now. None of these songs hit any chord with me whatsoever.
How often do they, though?
Yeah.
Streets of Philadelphia, Bruce Springsteen. I reckon
that
the
was a
last
good track.
one that was
a good track.
Okay.
I didn't like that song.
I thought it was all right. And Neil Young ones.
I loved that song.
Yeah,
that's
Young
the one that
was
should have won for that soundtrack.
And it didn't win. That didn't win that
But it
year.
got nominated, didn't it?
No, I think Streets of Philadelphia.
I remember he
by
performed it, though.
I reckon any category where 50 Shades of Grey can be nominated means the category is irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the song from 50 Shades of Grey. And then
the winner was from Bond, Writings on the Wall from Spectre.
What a rubbish song that was.
Yeah.
What a miserable, stinking piece of pop crap.
So that won.
The writing's
really
on the wall, and the
say-
writing says, "Bring back Shirley Bassey." I think. That's
By
what
the way, if you're interested, just as a sideline to that, Radiohead, because of course for the Bond films you tender for them. So if you're a recording artist, you can submit your song to the studios, and they can choose which becomes the Bond song. And Radiohead submitted a Spectre theme that was rejected, and so they just put it out because they're Radiohead, and it's a really good song.
That doesn't surprise me though, because Spandau Ballet tendered gold back in the day for View to a Kill, and that can get used. And that's
what a great song that is. Go.
What do you think of Lady Gaga, Bruce?
Always believe in you.
She did, what is it, Till It Happens to You from The Hunting Ground. What do you think?
I don't know anything about that film, and I thought it was fine. I thought it was good. I mean, she looked like she was dressed by Freddie Mercury's estate, but
the crowd loved it.
The crowd loved it because it's a big issue. I think they love the issue being discussed. Like I'm not saying
I think
that.
the sentiment was good. Yeah,
Sentiment
from what I
was
heard,
there.
the song itself was a bit rubbish. But
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and it was written by Deanne Warren, who used to write for Whitney Houston and other people, and she's been nominated 8 times for that award. I don't think she's won it yet.
Yeah.
So this is her first win.
That's it.
So that was nice that she won the award. But a lot of these songs, they play them, and I just don't care.
Now, Bruce, this hasn't been done for apparently 66 years, according to your tweet.
Yeah, I did, when I was watching the awards, I did a quick bit of research.
Best Director went to What is it, Stu?
Alejandro Gonzalez in it.
Alejandro Gonzalez.
Oh, Inarritu.
Inarritu for The Revenant, the winner. And we haven't had a back-to-back director because obviously he directed Birdman
Did
last
he
year.
win? I know Birdman won Best Film. Did he win Best Director?
Yes.
Yeah. Huh.
So back-to-back for The Revenant. And also nominated Adam McKay for The Big Short, George Miller for Mad Max Fury Road, who I was rooting for, Tom McCarthy for Spotlight, and Lenny Abrahamson for The Room.
I think George Miller was in with a chance. Just because there's so much in that film that isn't in dialogue.
But this is what I don't
conveyed by
get.
dialogue.
Everyone else on that film has won. All the other, apart from actors, all the other, the other departments of making a film have won. And as a director, isn't it your job to bring all those brilliant
It's the
elements
same argument
together?
I made on last year's Oscars.
Did you really? Sorry, I didn't listen to it.
No,
I did.
To all our apps.
Yeah, I did. And it was a while ago. It was a year ago. Yeah, but surely...
It kind of is, but I would have said traditionally the only person that's there from start to finish of a film is the producer. Usually the director comes on board a bit later, unless they're a writer-director who does everything
Well,
themselves.
Mad Max didn't win Best Film either, which is traditionally the Producers' Awards.
Yeah, well, that's what they win for, so... I don't know.
So, thoughts on this one, guys?
I would say in the instance where it's such an overpoweringly auteur director, then and if they've won that many other awards, you're just being naive and ignorant to think he doesn't deserve it for Mad Max. Of course he does. Whose vision was that? It wasn't anyone else's
That's what
vision.
I mean.
But like the Revenant, you could argue exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
It was his vision on screen there, but yeah, I agree.
And you have to say, Brose as well, Lenny Abrahamson for Room. That's a phenomenally well-directed film.
Yeah, it was.
And he was incredible at rehearsing as well. They did a lot of rehearsal before they went on set, and that film is just extraordinary. I love the hell out of that film. And the direction has to get credit. It's an acting and directing film.
Yeah.
Like visually, it is what it is, and art direction and so forth. But it's the directing and acting that makes that film. Yeah.
Now, this one couldn't have gone to anyone else, in my opinion. Best Actress, Brie Larson for Room.
Yeah.
Phenomenal performance.
No one else on the list, and you're about to read it out, no one on the list comes close to what Brie Larson does in Room.
Agreed.
Not even vaguely. Charlotte Rampling for 45 years.
Saoirse Ronan for Brooklyn, Charlotte Rampling for 45 years, Jennifer Lawrence for Joy. You're getting too much enjoyment out of this. And then, of course, Cate Blanchett, because she gets nominated every year, doesn't she?
Exactly.
She's got enough.
And then
Carol.
Did anybody see...
Judi Dench is there for something.
She's there. She didn't do a film last year, but she's in there. Did anybody see Carol?
She did do a film last year.
No.
She was in the Bond film.
Of course she was.
She had like 10 seconds.
Nobody saw... Is she still in the Bond films? I thought they replaced her with the dude.
No,
Spoilers.
I didn't watch Spectre.
Oh, you haven't
I don't
seen
know.
Spectre?
I haven't seen Spectre.
She's in it.
I have a habit of seeing every second Bond film, and that suits me quite fine.
But yeah, Brie Larson was a shoo-in, wasn't she?
Brie Larson was amazing.
She was so good in this.
Jennifer Lawrence is another one. She's just going to keep getting nominated year in, year out, whether she deserves it or not, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, Brie Larson was just incredible.
Yeah, if we could talk about Room for a sec, it was a film that was so masterful at portraying something hideous just off camera. So there's nothing actually horrible you can see in that film. Nothing even spoken about specifically. You just know what's going on just out of frame is so hideous. And it was just such an extraordinary balance in the fact that a film about something so horrible ended up being so uplifting.
Yeah.
Was so bizarre.
Such a beautiful
How do
film.
you strike that balance? It's an impossible task, and they did it.
Yeah, I love that film. Yeah.
Oh, well, then, obviously, I haven't seen it yet. I would love to see it, though. Very well, obviously, maybe a well-deserved award.
It's interesting to think about Room and Spotlight and their approaches to dealing with particularly horrid things.
Well, that's why when you were talking about it, that's why I wanted to know what it was about, because it sounds like that's what Spotlight could have done with something like that.
It's one of the criticisms Room got, though, is that it could have been more, and I think that's wrong.
We could have seen more?
Yeah,
Or
I think
No.
it's perfect. I don't think you
No.
want the horror, you want the
Suspense.
The suspense, yeah. Beautiful film.
Yeah.
Best Actor, not as clear-cut as the actress, I guess, Brose, but he was always going to win, I think. DiCaprio, Leonardo for The Revenant. But he was up against Matt Damon for The Martian, Michael Fassbender for Steve Jobs, Eddie Redmayne for The Danish Girl, and Bryan Cranston for Trumbo.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Bryan Cranston, straight out of the gate, Trumbo is a figure in Hollywood that splits the room right in half. He was a communist. He was part of the blacklist, the 10 men that were blacklisted. And people either thought he was a communist arsehole or they thought he was hard done by and treated badly. It's very black and white, this subject.
They had the Lifetime Achievement Award for that person
A couple of years ago who was on the blacklist as well.
Yeah, and people were sitting down, not clapping.
Yep, some people wouldn't stand and some would.
Yeah. I'm surprised they even went close to that film then.
Why is that? Are there still people who think that Hollywood is controlled by communists?
No, they think that what happened was unforgivable.
Yeah, the fact that they were communists in the first place and they were active communists was unforgivable.
So that's what I'm saying.
No,
Is
the
that
other way
isn't
around.
it?
I thought it was the blacklisting. Is that what? The people who weren't clapping were arguing against the blacklisting that occurred back during
but not clapping the guy who was blacklisted seems...
There are people.
counterintuitive
There are people
to
that look at blacklisted people from Hollywood and just say, "You're a dirty communist and you don't deserve my applause."
That's
As simple as that.
It's just in this day and age that seems weird.
And Trumbo's painted as a hero, and people don't see him as a hero.
I found it ironic that a film about a good screenwriter had such a terrible screenplay. That's all.
Yeah.
You know what? I agree. They had a whole expanse of Trumbo's life to deal with, and it was very choppy. It was very mashed up.
It was an Oscar biopic film.
Yeah.
It was exactly the film that Straight Outta Compton wasn't. So the fact that Trumbo got a couple of nods here and there is...
It only got the one.
It was only the best actor.
Only best actor.
Bryan Cranston's amazing, but Hollywood have no idea what to do.
The other thing too is I think not to harp on it, but Louis C.K. in Trumbo is extraordinary. He is brilliant and should have been nominated as best supporting. He is
You
so
love
good.
this man, bro.
He is good in it.
I look in reference to the Oscars this year. He's done some amazing things.
He really has. So was this the right decision, Leonardo DiCaprio?
I would have given it to Fassbender for Steve Jobs because Fassbender was the best performance out of these five for me.
I would have given it to Fassbender. And can I say, Leonardo DiCaprio is... I mean, I've commented a little bit earlier, but Leonardo DiCaprio in this film, it's one note. And that's not his fault. But...
He's very monotone.
He's underwritten because nothing happens to his character. His character starts one way and ends one way.
Yeah.
And there's a bear, but otherwise, that's it. And his character is surrounded by other characters who go off and you go, oh, can we just follow that guy for a bit? Can we just follow that guy for a bit? Everybody else is more interesting. And what is Leonardo DiCaprio at the end of this film? He's breathing through his mouth. For a whole movie, for 2.5 hours, this man is breathing through his mouth.
Yeah, but
that's not worth an Academy Award.
I agree.
I think when you look at his whole career, I mean, he spent like 5 minutes in water and died in Titanic. So here he is now.
He's overcome that.
Yeah, he's a tough
that's
guy.
only
You think he's been in training? You say that the Titanic was working
I think that
up.
really hurt him. Like,
Yeah.
he was just,
See, The Revenant disappointed me because, spoiler alert here, I do love a DiCaprio film where he dies at the end.
Sure.
Beach is good, and Titanic's another great
Haven't
one.
seen it.
Let's
More
just
water.
spoil all his films.
Oh, who gives a shit? And and he didn't die in this, so it's like, oh, come on, just kill the bastard. Just kill him.
No,
So that
I think that's now in his contract after Titanic. I don't want to die in
No
this
more
place.
death. No more death.
So that brings us to the big one, Best Picture, and I've seen 5 of these 8 films. So, and one of them was Spotlight, which is the winner. Best Picture, 2015, everybody. Spotlight.
What did you think about that, Adam?
I've seen The Martian. That was better than Spotlight. I've seen The Revenant. That was better than Spotlight. I've seen Room. That was definitely better than Spotlight.
Yeah.
I've seen Bridge of Spies. That was better than Spotlight. And I've seen Mad Max Fury Road, which was better than Spotlight. I didn't see The Big Short or Brooklyn.
I just thought, is this can we give this film up as like the best cinematic offering of the year? Like, you know what I mean? If Aliens came down today and they said, hey, this is the best we've got for this year, and it's Spotlight.
Yeah, look, it was not my personal favourite Best Picture, and but I understand why, though, bro. So I was just really annoyed by it.
I watched I saw all 8 films. None of these films, except for Mad Max, gave me anything really. Like Mad Max was one of the.
What about Room?
Oh, sorry.
Room?
Let me rephrase that. I'd forgotten about Room. There's 8 fucking films to remember here. So I've seen all 8 of these films. None of the films stood out like Mad Max did to me. When I finished watching that film, I was full of energy, I was full of hope, I was full of joy. I loved it from start to finish. Room, again, was such a beautiful film and so well performed and beautifully directed. Room was great. Spotlight was all right. Big Short was all right. Bridge of Spies, I thought was derivative and a bit bland. And if it wasn't for Tom Hanks and Mike Rylance, then I wouldn't have cared about that film at all. Brooklyn is a bit just... Yeah, okay. There's some nice moments in it and some really nice acting in parts of it. The Martian, Matt Damon blew my mind. He's so charismatic. I mean, as soon as I put that film on, I think I watched it after I'd watched Bridge of Spies, and that popped for me. Like, the contrast was amazing, but it's his charisma. He's just extraordinary. The Revenant,
Bruce,
I thought was solid. I didn't think it was great.
I think you've just really summed up last year in film, and I think the genre movies and the more entertainment-based films were the better films.
But the other thing, too, is I think last year, 2015, I don't think we had any big blockbuster films that I would put in this list anyway. Like Mad Max is the one that's in there, but some years you're like, oh, why didn't this go in or why didn't that go in? Because there were some great performances or it was a great script or a great film. This year, I guess there's Ex Machina should be in there, I suppose.
Absolutely.
But there aren't many other films that I would put in that list. But there aren't all those films, I don't think all those films deserve to be in that list either.
I would say that I mean, the Academy Awards started because studios made two kind of pictures. They made pictures that were, appealing to the masses and were, films that, everyone went to see, which they still do, your Captain Americas and your Iron Men and so forth. And then they made what they used to call prestige movies. And prestige movies were inevitably the ones that got nominated for Oscars because they were, hey, films can also deal with things that, maybe are more challenging in a film-based thing. That's fine and good. But now over the years, what's happened is studios don't make prestige movies anymore. They make Academy Award films.
Correct.
And the films... a lot of the films in that list are films that aren't being made. Like, if you want a challenging movie now, just see an independent movie, see an HBO movie, see, the television series on at the moment. These are where the art is at the moment. Yeah. And so what's happening is that what's left over are just these weird Oscar movies. They're just movies that are designed to... Like, every year there is an innocuous biopic. This year it was Trumbo. Last year it was the Stephen Hawking movie. Yeah, then the Johnny Cash movie. And they're all the same.
The other thing,
they're
too,
just designed to win Oscars.
These films all come out within proximity of the Oscars. They come in the last 2 months before the Oscars.
That's right.
Are decided. The other thing we need to take into consideration, the five of us around the table right now, we're incredibly spoiled in the 90s in that we lived through the independent film boom, and independent films that we loved as teenagers appeared on these lists. Now, those independent films don't appear on these lists as much anymore. The boom is definitely back down. Independent films aren't being made like they were, but Tarantino came out of that. There are a whole bunch of directors that we loved, at least I loved as a teenager, and was kind of reinforced, my opinions were reinforced by seeing them on these lists. It just doesn't happen. Doesn't happen anymore.
As much as I hate the biopics and based on a true story and Dear Academy, please give us an Oscar type films, if it weren't for the Academy Awards, those films wouldn't get made because the only reason people see them is because they win awards.
Yeah.
So it's... I'm not sure who I'm angry at right now.
Well, that's right, but is that a good thing? I mean, it's one of those. It's like just make a film because you want to make it, and then maybe we'll see it and maybe we won't.
Well, you can't just make a film because you want to make it. You need someone to give you money to make it. Yeah, they'll only give you money to make it if they think it'll make money, and if it's not a sequel. Right now, if it's not a sequel to a comic book movie, they'll only give you money if they think it's going to win an award.
But if you're making a film just to win an award, then ultimately you're making a film to make money. So why not just make a sequel then? You don't need to make an important quote unquote movie then, unless you're actually making it for the sake of making it. Yeah. And that's why I think the Steve Jobs movie is good, because it's a biopic that's turned on its head. Its narrative is at least challenging, and so you go, yeah, look, maybe it's Oscar fodder, but someone's put some thought into this. It's an interesting screenplay. It's an interesting approach. It's a very energetically directed movie. But you look at something like Trumbo, which has a fantastic cast and is just woeful. That to me plays like a TV movie. Yeah.
So just a quick recap here, guys. So in regards to the scorecard of wins, so The Revenant, 12 nominations, 3 wins. The big winner of the entire Oscars, I think, though, was Mad Max Fury Road. 10 nominations and 6 of them to that film.
So most number of Oscar wins for an Australian film ever.
Yep, big deal. The big loser, I guess, Brose, was The Martian. 7 nominations, but not 1 win.
Not 1 win?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bridge of Spies, 6 nominations for 1 win. Carol, 6 nominations for no wins. Spotlight, 6 nominations for 2 wins, but they were Screenplay and Best Picture. The Big Short, 5 nominations for 1 win. And Matt, Star Wars The Force Awakens, 5 nominations. So,
it's all right.
The Danish Girl, 4 nominations for 1 win. Room, 4 nominations for 1 win, but it was a very important one. Mm-hmm. Brooklyn, 3 nominations. The Hateful Eight, James, 3 nominations for 1 win.
1 win.
Just the score.
Yeah. Look, Jennifer Jason Leigh, it would have been a great one to win, but I think it was a very competitive field.
And I think Samuel L. Jackson should have been in there.
Sicario, 3 nominations. Ex Machina, 2 nominations for 1 win. Inside Out, 2 nominations for 1 win. And Steve Jobs, 2 nominations. Yeah, so overall, Brose, the Oscars this year, thoughts?
I think having the diversity issue for the host to kind of use as a through line, as a theme, even though it's not the lightest, brightest, most exciting theme to use, it really helped the broadcast. I think having Chris Rock there and having him attacking it really, for me, gave the broadcast... It made it interesting. It gave it purpose. He's using it as a soapbox to talk about something, being entertaining and funny at the same time. I like some of the changes they made to the way they played film clips, like with the screenplays on screen and the delineating between mixing and editing for sound and all that. I think that was really good. As a broadcast, I enjoyed this more than any I have probably in the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
In terms of the films, it's just a Met kind of year for 2015.
Well, I was going to say, do you think that, like, it's good that we had this issue to talk about because the films were boring? Well, it's a celebration of movies.
I wouldn't be that cynical about it, but it's they're definitely lucky the diversity issue came up, I guess.
I think it's hard to complain about them talking about that issue because it most definitely pertained to their industry. So rather than random issues that came up during the night that may or may not have much to do with Hollywood.
Yeah, I got a little bogged down this year, bro, so I haven't enjoyed it as much as previous years.
The broadcast?
Yeah, overall, yeah. And I think a lot of the diversity stuff was a big part of that for me personally, but at times I was also really enjoying it. So I just felt that occasionally I was just like, let's just get back to the movies here, everybody,
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But let's talk about our favourite films then of the last 12 months, guys, which is what we do every time we come around to this time of the year, bro. So I'll start over here with your good self. What were your favourite films of the last year and why? Okay,
so for this year, Ex Machina, which I only saw more recently after Stuart told us we should have watched it about 8 months ago, by far, maybe the greatest film of 2015. It's a really good film. I'm not a huge sci-fi guy, and I know there are some big sci-fi guys on Real Chat, so the fact that the character and the story drove me, that's what I want out of a good sci-fi film. I don't watch sci-fi for the sake of it. So yeah, Ex Machina, the fact that it broke through my prejudice and I enjoyed the hell out of it, I give it extra points. Mad Max, phenomenal. We've talked about that a million times on Real Chat. It's great. If you haven't seen it, listen to the Real Chat episode, and then you'll get patriotic and get involved. Inside Out, I thought was a beautiful film. Room, another beautiful film. Star Wars, I loved to death. Jurassic World, I really enjoyed. And Spotlight, I want to talk about. Best film Oscar this year. It's a good film and people should watch it. Despite whether you love the film as a piece of cinema, it's an important film. It's more important than probably any other film that I've seen this year. I think it helps clear away some of the clouds around this whole issue. It doesn't prejudice against the Catholic Church. It's not an anti-religion film, but it's actually quite pro-religion in some areas, but it gets straight down to the facts, and I think it does it really well. Again, not the greatest piece of cinema ever made, but it's an important film, and I think everyone should, especially what's going on in Australia right now, everyone should see Spotlight to give a bit of perspective on what it actually means and the institutionalised nature of what's happened in the Catholic Church with child molestation. So the performances too. You're going to love Michael Keaton in this film. You're going to love him because he's brilliant.
How's this Michael Keaton comeback as well? He comes back in a big way with Birdman and Spotlight.
Two best films in 2 years.
Films in 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Stu.
Mad Max Fury Road is there. We talked enough about that in the episode. Ex Machina is also there in my top 3. Particularly liked it because it's a single location film for the most part, which I really enjoyed. And I think Room I would include, except it didn't come out here until this year, so it'll be in my list for next year. Best film, though, of 2015 for me was It Follows. A really, really good horror film. And I watched it a second time, and it was just as unsettling, which is good. I was a bit concerned that some of the impact would have dissipated, but it was really, really cool. And I loved the score as well. That was a really good score.
The 80s inspired.
It was,
synth score.
Disaster Piece score was fantastic.
Yep. James.
I thought Ex Machina was good. I love Star Wars. For me, honestly, the top film probably was Hateful Eight for me.
Yep.
Nowadays, the thing that Tarantino seems to do that a lot of filmmakers don't, that I enjoy, and I think has become my criteria for films, is I think The Hateful Eight, out of most films I watched, was the only film I didn't know what was going to happen at the end. And there are so few films nowadays where you, especially as people obviously like us who all enjoy films, can really say, I don't know which character is going to live, I don't know which character is going to die, I don't know who's good, I don't know who's bad, and I can't wait to find out. And I love movies like that, movies that can actually, as a jaded moviegoer, can challenge me and can put me in a place where I'm just, blinking and hoping for the next bit. So I love that film. Out of the Oscar films, I would say The Big Short, I really enjoyed. I'd side with Brose to say that I don't think Spotlight was the best film, but I thought it was a very well made film. And look, Hateful Eight would be my pick.
Great, thanks, James. Matt.
Mad Max. Force Awakens, both films I had a great time seeing at the cinema, especially Force Awakens with my kids. Seeing them get lost in a Star Wars film like I did when I was their age is quite special for a father.
You gave them both 5 stars, didn't you?
I did, yeah, I think I did. I'm glad someone's paying attention. But the film for me last year, which I think I'll probably look back on more, was a film called Bone Tomahawk.
Okay.
That's Bone, not Bone Tony Hawks. That's a different film about a skateboarding legend. But Bone Tomahawk with Kurt Russell, which is...
Oh, nice.
Have you guys heard about this film?
No.
I have seen the DVD cover. He's rocking that big mustache that he rocks in Hateful Eight.
It is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah?
It's terrifying. It's brutal.
Is it a Western?
Western/cannibal horror film, and it is
right up your alley.
absolutely. Well, I know you couldn't write the script, and someone did, and it's honestly it is like that sounds shit like saying a Western cannibal film.
No,
is
it doesn't.
Absolutely brutal. It's got Matthew Fox. It's got a crying dog. It's probably because I mentioned Bone.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah,
It's
it's
his favourite
fantastic.
film.
Bone Tomahawk.
Good stuff. Thanks
Gee,
a lot, Matt.
I'm actually going to do Adam's top 5 films of last year because I think I'm in a better position. Terminator Genesis, that was up
Hang
there.
on a sec.
Spotlight, we've discovered. Furious 7 was one of your favourites. Ted 2. And little known fact, Adam's favourite film for 2015 was The Diary of a Teenage Girl. So, am I even close?
What about Back to the Future screening with the MSO? Does that count?
That counts. That counts.
That was probably the best of the year. No, but
Well, part 2 was technically made last year, wasn't it? So
Nicely
was
done,
set
Stu.
last year. Yeah.
Nicely done. Just quickly, the panel members who couldn't be with us today.
Oh, we've got
gave
their
me
lists.
their favourite films of the year. Okay, so this
what,
is
they've passed away. This is awesome.
Now
Should we
it's
do an in memoriam?
in memoriam?
yeah. We'll
we
just start playing the music in
We
the background.
barely knew thee.
If we were with the Academy, we'd leave someone out that was very important.
that's
wouldn't
right.
we?
Mr. McCaskill himself said 2015 was a pretty shitty year for film. It featured lots of heavy, grim morality stories. And
Star Wars.
What we got was just
Shaun the Sheep.
and what we got was just superhero movies. So I've gone with pure popcorn fun and escapism in Mad Max Fury Road, and special mention to The Overnight, the funniest film of the year for me,
Wow, the overnight.
which I haven't seen.
I haven't
but-
seen it either.
Yeah. So that was Andrew. Mr. Michael Hadgen said Room and Inside Out.
Oh, there you
were
go.
his two favourite films of the year. Star Wars is overrated. Just to rub that in again, Michael. The Raspberry Award goes to The Crapful Eight.
The Crapful Eight.
Oh, that's all right. That must be a different film.
That was the wrong film.
That's a different.
Yeah,
He should have gone to see the Hateful Eight
That's
instead.
the one the
He said-
Wayans brothers made. As,
He did tell me, he did say that like he was incredibly disappointed, bored, and like said it was an absolute massive disappointment. So
Was it Spotlight or sorry, Hateful Eight?
Oh, the Crapful Light.
He's allowed to think that. Adam looked at me then like I had made it.
When Michael gets it wrong, as he has here again,
Yeah.
we normally like to sort him out and get him to change his,
You mean
his
when you
ratings.
sort him out as in
We'll bring him in.
up?
Yeah, we'll bring him into line.
We did that with Evil Dead, I think.
We did.
our friend Jade
Yep.
Googe said Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Spy,
Oh wow.
Ex Machina, and The Big Short.
I liked
Nice.
Spy. That was a funny movie.
Yeah, that's good old Paul Feig.
It is.
Ghostbusters coming up soon.
We'll be looking at that. Don't worry about that here on
Ghostbusters
Real
3.
Chat. Mine.
I've done yours. Okay, let's move on.
Ex Machina was the best film of last year, in my opinion. That Helen does tell me that I have a thing for androids and robots.
That's true.
But,
I mean, that's usually after you've wrapped half her body in tinfoil. But
who have you been talking to? But yeah, look.
So Wizard of Oz makes that list too then.
Ex Machina, yeah, it hit all the right chords for me. That was a fantastic film. And I still haven't purchased it either. What am I doing?
I don't know what you're doing,
Yeah,
Aaron.
exactly.
I've still got the tinfoil image.
Room was a big highlight as well. I saw that recently. And that was fantastic, that film as well. That film just hit all the right chords. The performances were outstanding.
And it's not a film where you're kind of reticent to go and see it as well. You're like, oh, do I really want to see a movie about this?
Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
And then it's just incredible.
You're worried about it going in.
Yeah.
And then it, really pleasantly surprised. The other ones are more of your popcorn films because I really just liked them more this year. Star Wars: The Force Awakens, Jurassic World.
Oh, don't.
That's enough out of you, Jurassic Park 3 lover. And
Ouch. Only he's allowed to say those words.
I also really liked Chappie early in the year as well. That was last year. That was.
Oh, there you go.
I thought that was a lot of fun. Not fantastic, but it was fun. It was good.
Wait, is that because it had a robot in it? Adam?
Did Chappie have a robot in it?
Going, yeah.
Brose's list 4 is not looking too bad now. I think that's the...
Did you dislike
I'm joking.
Chappie?
No. I didn't mind Chappie.
Yeah. That was okay. It was fun.
It was all right.
It was fun.
It was better than Elysium. That's the main
Yes,
thing.
it was. So,
This has got nothing to do. I don't even know what Chappie is.
It's a Hugh Jackman film.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
he was a
Okay.
great villain.
The guy who did District 9. That was his third
Oh,
film.
cool. Okay, good on him.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
What's happening next episode, Adam?
Yeah.
We are looking at The Dark Knight.
Ooh.
So we're going back into Batman and Superman mode for the next couple of weeks and lead up to the new film.
Yeah, which is coming. It's a lot sooner than I was expecting. It's one of those things where it's like Batman, Superman. Oh, that comes out later. It comes out at some point.
but
It's only a few weeks
Superman
away.
can fly really fast.
Can't he though?
So
Can't
there
he?
you go.
Yeah, it's good.
So yeah, we'll get stuck into The Dark Knight.
Everyone will have X-ray vision during that film because we'll be able to see through Zack Snyder's shitty direction very easily.
Hey, spoilers.
But Brose, let's wrap up this Oscars episode with a little bit of a special note. A couple of weeks ago, some of the Real Chat members, Andrew and Michael, who aren't here with us today.
Yes, basically the Real Chat members we have around the table today weren't invited to your wedding, so this is not awkward at all. But Adam did get married 2 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Sorry,
2 weeks ago.
sorry, which one of you guys is Adam?
But no, Adam got married 2 weeks ago. It was a beautiful affair, and we did record a little bit of a Real Chat episode at the reception, which we're going to listen to. We're going to listen to it now.
I'd like to welcome the man right now to the microphone. Give it up for the groom himself, Adam Stolfo.
In Real Chat style here, Brose, I have compiled pages and pages of notes, actually, for today's speech. What a fantastic day this has been so far. This whole thing has been so much better than I could possibly imagine. It's been perfect in every sense. The weather, everything, the fact that all you guys are here in the same place, it's fantastic. But it took a lot of blood, sweat and tears in order to get here, didn't it, Hells? And Hells is one of the main...
Whoa. Can I just stand up for a second? What are you doing, man?
My speech, mate. What do you think I'm doing?
Sure, it's your wedding and everything, but I'm just wondering why it didn't go to me first. Because we're reviewing this night, right?
No, I've got to agree with that, actually. It's traditional that you'll kick things off, but surely we go straight to Andrew for his...
Traditionally, on Real Chat podcasts...
Yeah. I mean, it's Andrew. And look, I'm only speaking up because I'm after Andrew, and I don't want to miss out on my opinion of today's event. But hold on, how about me, mate? You know, I've got to say what I think, you know, it's been great tonight. It's been a crowd pleaser, but, you know, I think it's, you know, much like Star Wars or Force Awakens, I think it's just playing it a tad too safe, and I would say the audience what they want to see. You know? Slightly derivative as well, I imagine. You know, where are the white doves? Where are the smoke machines? Where is the Michael Jackson moonwalks on an illuminated dance floor? You know,
Hang on a sec. So we're going to do this. We're going to do it properly. Thank you, Tony. Helen and Adam say I do. Everybody, welcome to episode 52A of Real Chat, a podcast that promises week in, week out, the real world as we know it. Today, Real Chat is something very special for you all, something a little different, something we haven't attempted before. Today on Real Chat, we have a special tribute to the special unity of Helen and myself. And I'm joined here as usual by my good friend and co-host Brose Avard. Brose, how you doing?
look, I'm doing okay. I've got to say, I've probably had a few too many glasses of wine to MC effectively, but so far no one in this room seems to have noticed, which makes me think they're just as pissed as I am. So, I'm pretty fucking happy.
Joined here as well by my good friend Andrew McCaskill. Andrew, how's it going?
Are we good friends? I'm starting to question what just took place here tonight.
Apologies.
Me first.
I've been told if there was a fourth chair on the male end of that table, you were the next guy.
Oh.
Yeah. So,
Makes up for something.
I mean, there isn't, and there's good reason for that, but otherwise, it would have been you.
And best man there for best, Michael Hadgen.
Thank you very much. 2 speeches in a row, you owe me big time.
Forever in your debt. That's right. Now, this special occasion, of course, is a Stolfo Cedar production in conjunction with the Gables. The final production budget of the wedding is still very much pending. Remember the days of backyard weddings or casual receptions at the local pub? Those days are long gone. Long gone. When you factor in all the fashionable wedding must-haves these days, from personalised bombardier to specialised photographers to grooms arriving in picked-up DeLoreans, the price of the average Australian wedding has skyrocketed. According to a survey run by Bright to Be magazine, the average cost in Australia is now $65,000. And that is a fair amount of cash. 3 years ago it was 36 grand, Brose. What's happened? What's going on?
What has happened? It's insane. You think it was a James Cameron film, wouldn't you? You're just relying on China to recoup the costs, aren't you?
I know. But what do you think about the two? We not talk about the cast and the show guys and refer to them as the iconic cast. What do you think about the cast, the two main leads and the supporting cast of today's wedding?
Oh, look, I think that the male lead he's put in a solid performance. I hear that towards the end of the final act, after the speeches, he starts getting a bit glassy-eyed, stumbling around, screaming, turn it up, and puts in a shocking performance of the nut pushover on that dance floor there. So, sort of jumps the shark, I think. Helen, though, I think she should get a BAFTA for that performance. I think she's got the style, the sophistication, and the ferocity to carry that role. So, I'm really impressed with that one.
Yep. Brose?
Personally, I think Adam put in a workman-like performance. You know, he was solid, he hit all the bases, but really the credit needs to go to Helen. I mean, she's worked doubly as hard to make Adam look good today. And I think that's really where the respect needs to go. Interestingly, I've got a little bit of trivia here. I've got some of the actors listed who were going to take the role of Adam before Adam was cast. Those actors are Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Michael J. Fox. Hang on a second. Sorry, I'm queuing myself here, and I've had quite a lot of drink. Sorry, I meant to say Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. Oh, by the way, how good was the DeLorean that Adam came up from? The DeLorean from Back to the Future.
One of the stars of the day.
That's good. Got to get that away. Michael J. Fox. Interestingly, about Schwarzenegger, Willis, and Fox. Turns out, if they'd been cast in Helen's role, Adam still would have been very happy. Let me just say, he'd have gone back to the hotel and died very hard indeed. Andrew.
Yes, well, I want to talk about the soundtrack. Tonight's evening, very 80s. Oh, the cast?
Well, is it just like real chat? Andrew hasn't prepared a thing.
You're jumping ahead here.
Was I supposed to go on this week?
I don't know. Well, it's interesting because, just quickly, where was Andrew for Jurassic Park 2?
And Jurassic Park 3.
And Jurassic Terminator 3.
Terminator 3 and Terminator 4.
On the beach. Tonight's obviously going to be a great event because he turned up. That's all.
That's true. Good science, yeah.
Why don't we get to some trivia from today's wedding, and I'll pass over here to Mr. Michael Adgen.
Right, a couple of little bits of trivia here tonight. Starting with a bit of behind the scenes. During the male lead's initial costume design consultation, the female lead did make a furiously passionate attempt to get the entire male cast into brown wingtip shoes, which took the combined efforts of the male lead, two supporting actors, and the wardrobe consultant Spiro to just win the battle in favour of black shoes. Notably, the female lead was not present at the final fitting.
I heard that Adam was very keen on self-lacing Nikes, as seen in Back to the Future Part 2.
We missed out on that. And just the lead-in scenes here, folks. The original screenplay did include male lead Adam Stolfo donning a blonde mullet, a wig, and belting out the entire 40 minutes and 54 seconds of whispering Jack. However, due to overall running time, concerns from the female lead, and general public opinion, the scene was unfortunately dropped from the final cut.
Sorry, it's a tragedy.
Sorry, guys.
It will be available on the Blu-ray, so check that out on special feature. Check it out.
Mr. Andrew McCaskill, what are some of your thoughts on some of the musical choices from Helen and myself tonight?
Talk about the soundtrack?
Yeah, you can.
I really want to talk about it. Yeah, look, I'm very impressed so far, I've got to say, and a lot of weddings can crash and burn depending on the music, so it's very important to get that right. And it's been very 80s heavy, which I'm always a big fan. You know, I love my 80s.
It's the 80s, Andrew.
Big fan.
We're a big fan. Yeah, we all we've been born in it. So, you know, it's a nostalgic trip, so I'm enjoying that. It's going well. Must, say hello to George Stolfo for his delightful acoustic set.
Points.
Very nice work. Thank you, George.
Is there any truth to the rumour that's the only way you could sneak in some John Farnham today?
It's a rumour.
I mean, I know the celebrant said it was an original track, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
It disguised nicely. Helen had no idea.
She does now.
I reckon John Farnham should be here because he should be thanking you for all your support of it.
He's got a going rate of about $1 million a wedding.
Adam looked into it.
I did research.
He emailed
it couldn't be done.
Yeah, it's unfortunately going to come back to us somewhere outside the world. But yeah, so far, loving it. Looking forward to hitting the dance floor of everyone tonight. I'm hoping to see you and Helen perform All the Single Ladies, Beyonce hit.
That song wasn't allowed.
Oh, why is that?
I don't like it.
Oh. I thought it was going to be a big moment for the night, but no go.
I've got something that you look forward to, mate. Just you'll be right.
Well, I finished a bit tense. This is Real Chat. I'm assuming that'll be edited out mostly.
All right.
Podcast.
What about collectibles, Brose? From
Look, it's a hard thing to tie in collectibles for a wedding, but you know, what the hell are sugared almonds? I don't know if you've seen the bottom area outside the favours that are on the. I don't even know what a sugared almond is, but that's one of the collectibles available from the Stolfo wedding. And I've got to be very careful about how critical I am at this point because I've noticed the tables have bottles of olive oil on it, and I'm at a Italian wedding and there's olive oil. And I don't know if this is a meeting of the 5 families or... Has nobody seen The Godfather? All I know is if you talk to Giuseppe tonight and you ask him a favour, he'll do it as a gift for his daughter's wedding. That's all I know. That's all I know. I thought more people would have seen The Godfather.
I know,
Apparently
I
not.
think so.
But Real Chat's not done The Godfather yet, but we have done Back to the Future. Christ, for that.
What about the invitations as well, Brose?
Well, the invitations are great. It turns out I put them next to my phone, and when a call comes in, I need to take a message. I just write on the back of them. So, but they're beautifully designed by Helen, and she's done a great job as well.
All right. Well, why don't we finish this up traditionally with our 5-star review system per guest? So traditionally, I'm going to start over here with Andrew.
Finally, Jesus. Well, it's been heartwarming so far. I've had a few shivers today, and that's before the wedding. But now that we're here, I'm expecting some more to come out tonight, especially on the dance floor. So, look, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. It's a beautiful night, a beautiful couple. So I'm going to go with this wave of emotion, and I'm going to give it about a 4.5.
Nice score. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you.
Wow, that's changed my vote completely. I was going to go a little bit lower than that, and that just seems inappropriate now. Especially because I saw Luca Brasi in the foyer earlier. It's another Godfather reference! Yes, I get it. Does anybody see it? I'm on my own here.
Sleep through the fishes. I know it.
Thank you.
Simple man.
God, I'm going to wake up tomorrow with a horse head in my bed, and I'm going to look at it.
Right, go easy.
I'm going to look at it and think, shit, I ate a whole horse last night. I'm going to give this a solid 5 stars. I feel it's inappropriate not to.
Whoa.
It's been, for me, it's more of a Zemeckis affair than a Cameron influence, and I think that was a good choice, because the last thing you want is the reception to sink at the end. Although this Real Chat segment might be sinking it right now. I'm not sure. But, you know, in time to come, I'm looking forward to Uncle Peter's video of this on YouTube. And it's worth adding, how good is it that he's picked up his phone and put that Polaroid camera down for a change? It's definitely improved my evening. So definitely 5 out of 5 stars from me.
Michael.
Alright, I usually reserve 5 stars for Rosemary's Baby and Terminator 2, so I'm jumping out on a limb here.
And Shawshank Redemption. And
sorry, and Shawshank Redemption.
I get a feeling...
And actually, you really invite me for the good movies, so I've had a pretty good run at Real Chat, really, but you know...
The longer this speech goes on, the more this becomes like Shawshank Redemption.
No way, no.
There are a few people trying to dig a tunnel out of here right now.
I won't go further into that one, but you know, I've got contractual obligations tonight as the best man. I'm going to play it safe. 5 stars, outstanding effort, highly recommended. Good stuff, dolls. Good stuff, Helen. Thumbs up from Hatchin.
Thanks,
Yeah, cool.
Give it up for Michael Hatchin, Andrew McCaskill.
You can keep in touch with us here at Real Chat by visiting realchat.com.au. Check us out on Twitter at Real Chat Podcast, Instagram, real_chat_podcast, and we're on YouTube, Real Chat Podcast, surprise, surprise, and track us down on Facebook. You can hit iTunes for new episodes and check out some of our old episodes. Thanks for listening.